Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this presentation on how to make note cards. I am Miss Jennifer Blank, and I will be your guide on this journey. I want to draw your attention to a little quote I have down here on the left-hand side of the first slide here. The master has failed more times than the beginner has ever tried. The longer you continue in school, the more you will realize that you are going to fail a lot. But you have to keep moving forward because the person who became the master is the person who never got tired of failing and just kept learning and kept going and kept going. So I thought that would be an appropriate way to start this lesson. So here we go. All right. So what are we doing? Now, there are a couple kinds of different note cards you're going to make. I'm going to focus on how you make history note cards specifically because those are the classes I teach. But there's two different kinds that you're going to be making for history classes. So there's definition note cards where it's just that, a definition. There's nothing else you need to worry about with it. So you have to think about the fact that less is more. You do not want to include everything, just the important info. You don't need to write everything down, just the information that you need. All right. And you only do this for the most important vocab words or concepts. So this is an example of what it looks like. So on the front of the card, like right here, you would write the term. And then on the back of the card where the lines are is where you put all the other stuff. So here I have my personal definition of culture. It's very basic. It's very minimal. But that's an example of just a definitional note card. That's all that you need. Now, the content note cards get a little bit more complicated. So similar concepts to follow over here on the left-hand side. You see that was on the previous slide. But what's different now is that we have a basic description or definition, a date or date range, and historical significance. So again, if you look at this example here, I've gone ahead and written that down for you. All right, so you see basic description here, date or date range, and then historical significance. Now, you should label that for the teacher, because when the teacher is evaluating your note card, like me, when I'm evaluating your note cards, I want to see what you think is significant versus what you think is the definition. Okay, I need to see that you understand how to pull out what you need to pull out from the content. Okay, so that's the basic breakdown. But what's really concerning people is not how you set up the note card, right? It's not the format, it's what the heck do you put on the note card, right? How do you figure out what's significant and what the definition is? Like, how do you do that? Well, there are a couple different ways. Number one is going to be your class notes. Your number one guide is going to be what your teacher tells you on a regular basis, all right? So you need to pay attention for that. You need to learn that the things that the teacher or professor talks about in class, that's what you need to hone in on. That's what you need to zero in on. That's important to them. They're going to want to see that. Next, PowerPoints, presentations, or handouts that they give you. Those things are going to have a lot of pertinent information. Then there's textbook and document readers. Now, some teachers will have you go right to the textbook or the document reader to get that. Personally, that's not usually how I operate. I like students to pay more attention to the stuff that I give them and what we discuss in class. But some teachers, which is perfectly fine, will jump right to the textbook, pull the key idea from there. And you can go to the glossary in the textbook. You can look in the index to figure out where that term is in the book to help speed things along. And then, of course, there's the internet. The internet. Oh, it's simultaneously our greatest joy and our most troubling experience. So now that we're done with this presentation, I want to actually take you to the internet. And let's talk about that. So you see the Google. Oh, yes, the Google. We love the Google, right? It's very exciting. Now, here's the problem. Let's say we type in history, right? Let's type in history and talk about see what pops up. All right, so you see here, oh, okay, History Miami. That's useful. It's a little museum in Miami because I, of course, am located in Miami. And you see, oh, look, History Miami. Let's look at that. So you're getting all of these things that aren't really helping you with the definition, right? So we may need to refine our terms. So let's history definition. Whoops, that is not how you spell definition. There we go. All right. Here we go. This is great. The study of past events, particularly in human affairs. That's wonderful. Except that is not really what history is, right? It's much, much more than that. My students have seen my PowerPoints. We've talked about it in class that I view history as something a lot more significant and a lot more intense than that. There's a lot more to it. But if you just go to dictionary.com or just you look at that's not going to be what you need. That's not good, all right? So if your professor or teacher has not given you a specific definition, then you can try using this, but this is so vague. It's not specific. So let's take a look at what dictionary.com says. Let's open that window and take a look, see what it is. All right, let's take a look. All right. A continuous systematic narrative of past events as relating to a particular people, country, period, person, etc., usually written as a chronological account. Well, that's great. That's interesting. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit. The aggregate of past events, the record of past events and times, especially in connection with the human race, a past notable for its important, unusual, or interesting events, acts or ideas. Well, you can read. You can look at all this stuff. Now, something like this is a bit more comprehensive, right? You have 7 different things listed here. So if somebody doesn't give you specifics on what definition they want from you, it would make sense for you to just, you could put all 7 of these, because which one do they want? Depending on the context, you have to ask questions in class. So if you're not sure, you should start your assignments early and say, Miss Blank, I went and I looked up what history was, and it gave me all this stuff. So I'm not really sure what you want me to use, because there's 7 different options here that I can put down for definitions. Now, if you started your assignment early enough, you could have time to go in and say, hey, what's going on? And then if you were mine, I would tell you, well, if you look at my PowerPoint, I give you my specific definition of history, which contains 5 bullet points, okay? You can go find that on my website. But that's definitions, right? Definitions is not what we need help with. We need help with content, don't we? It's content areas that we need to work with. So let's try something else like the Middle Ages. Let's look at that. Let's look at the Middle Ages. Right? Let's Google that. Oh, look. In European history, the Middle Ages or medieval period lasted from the 5th to the 15th century. It began with the collapse of the Western Roman Empire and merged into the Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. Now, that's a pretty reasonable basic definition, right? It's a pretty reasonable for this right here. See this right up here, the basic definition. But that, and it tells me a date range, right? So that's good. But it does not tell me why the Middle Ages was significant. It does not tell me that, right? And of course, as you see, the #1 source you should never, ever, ever go to is Wikipedia. You see that right there? See that? See, that's where that comes from. That comes from Wikipedia. And we don't like Wikipedia. Why don't we like Wikipedia? Let's talk about for a second why we don't like Wikipedia. Well, people can go in and modify Wikipedia. People can go in and change Wikipedia. And although, you guys are, especially folks who are in AP, you guys are master students, you're doing really well, you work really hard, but sadly, you do not have enough content knowledge yet to discern what is correct versus what is incorrect. So this is why I say avoid Wikipedia. You should always look for .edu at the end of the website, right? So now this is just the first page of hits. So let's scroll through and take a look. So Wikipedia, history.com, train wreck, terrible, don't go there. Middle Ages history, Britannica, no, we don't like that. Exhibits collection, thelearner.org, that's a possibility. Okay. Exhibits, so we might be able to learn something from some of the primary sources or artifacts, stuff, the paintings they may have there. The Middle Ages.net. .net is hit or miss. Let's check that out. Let's take a look at that, see what that gives us. 2 cheers for the Middle Ages, nybooks.com. No. Let's see, npr.org, mrdowling.com, might be a teacher, might be a good site to go to, a teacher. Let's take a look at that. Then, this is what people never like to do. You got to go to next. So sometimes you have to go 2 or 3, so you see 1, 2, 3, 4, there's more than 10 pages of hits here that you can examine. Do you have to look at all of them? No, of course you don't. But you should at least go 2 or 3 pages in to the hits, because you never know what you're going to find. Oh, there's a YouTube video. That might be useful. Okay, so you might want to watch that. Sometimes you can learn about things from the videos. That's fun. All right. Norton. Norton is a textbook company. That might be useful. Might be able to get some good info from that. Mr. Dunn. Or Mr. Don. Hey, this guy's good. I've actually been to his teacher website. This guy's good. We like him. So let's take a look at that. Info, please. No. Ask.com. No. Yahoo answer. No. Any of that stuff, it's worthless. Worthless. For my purposes, absolutely worthless. And so, just since some of you, your grade depends upon what my purposes are, don't go there. You don't go to that stuff. Oxford reference. That might be useful. Oxford's pretty good. It is an encyclopedia, but Oxford's a good source. Now, I said watch for .edu, right? No .edu sites are coming up. Well, you could Middle Ages and universities. Let's try that. Webspace.ship.edu. Okay, that's Shipsburg University of Pennsylvania. Here's another, cpp.edu. Can look at that. All right, so there's a lot of information that you can get from the Google searches and look at all these things. See all these tabs up here that we can examine and we can look at, right? So it's your job to kind of go through and look at these websites and try to figure out what is useful and what isn't, right? So this is actually, it says up here, it's kind of out of the screen here, but it says teacher resources and professional development across the curriculum. So this is stuff that teachers use. So if the teachers are going to use it, it's probably a good source, right? It's probably something that as a student, it would be reasonable for you to think that you can find good things here. So this would be a good site to take a look at. And here we go, themiddleages.net. Let's take a look and see. The first thing you want to do when you're trying to ascertain or determine if something's useful, go all the way down to the bottom and see multiple domain web hosting. Try to figure out who produced the website. Who did it? Is it a teacher? Is it a scholar? Is it just some random person who just likes the Middle Ages and they decide to put stuff together? That's what you have to try to figure out. And a site like this seems to be a little bit difficult, but let's move this over a little bit. And you take a look and you look around and you try to figure out if you can tell who created the website. If you can't tell very quickly, you move on to a different one because you don't need to waste time trying to figure out if it's accurate, right? You do what you can. So, as I said, this is from a teacher. So this site is probably going to be pretty accurate. So you can take a look and read. Now, you're going to have to read. You're not just going to Google and find what you need automatically always. All right. You have to learn that you're going to have to take some time and look through and figure out everything that's important, right? And you have to learn how to do that, and that's going to take reading, right? So let's look. People of Western Europe who lived during the Middle Ages didn't view themselves as in the middle of anything. They were more likely to regard themselves as living at the end of time because Rome had fallen by that point. The beginning of the Middle Ages in Western Europe is often called the Dark Age. Life in this time was often difficult and short. It was an era of war, as barbarian armies overran land once controlled by Romans. Okay, so this is telling you about the beginning of the Middle Ages and giving you a basic description of it. So you need more. You need the big picture, end result. What's the so what question? Why do we care about the Middle Ages? What makes the Middle Ages so important? So scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Go all the way down to the bottom. Go to the conclusion, as I call it. Okay, so now we go up. Europe began to experience momentous change by about 1450, a period we now call the Renaissance. Okay, now it's talking about the Renaissance. Okay, so that's past the Middle Ages. The Dark Age was anything but dark in other parts of the world. Okay. Though few people could read or write, some of the most beautiful crafted works of literature were composed. Okay, so now it's telling you about some things some important things that transpired. Despite the significant challenge of the era, many of the seeds of our modern life were first planted in the Middle Ages. Oh, okay. See, that is crossing time periods right there. Okay, that is telling me, despite the significant challenges, many of the seeds of our modern life, very far in the future, were first planted during the Middle Ages. Ah, now we have the beginning of what we can see as significance. So it talks about modern legal rights stem from a document called the Magna Carta, right? Okay, so that's pretty significant, right? Formal education began as the first universities were organized. Okay, though few people could read or write, some of the most beautifully crafted works of literature were composed. See, these are things that matter. These are things that are important. The results, the conclusions that came from the Middle Ages. Now we're starting to get into significance. Okay, so this is very useful. Okay, so we like this site. We should go back and revisit that, take some notes on that later. Here is from a textbook, okay? This is the Norton Anthology of English Literature, so they are giving you a very brief introduction to what the Middle Ages were. Since it's coming from a textbook, you can, for the purposes of making note cards, you can pretty much be okay with the fact that it's accurate. You can consider this to be accurate. If there is something wrong and the teacher or professor marks you wrong, you can say, well, this is where I got it from, and that can start a conversation in terms of allowing you to redo the assignment perhaps, or giving you credit back because you did what you were supposed to do as a student. Here's another site, Mr. Dunn, and he's really great. So if you want to, you can take a look, and he has a variety of different resources here. And it's not just useful for European history, but it's got a lot of different stuff here that you can look to. So you can see he's got a menu here. So this is a good source to go to if you're looking for additional information. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are running short on time, so I want to make sure that I wrap this up for you. You can go and practice these skills on your own, looking at different sources. My folks, if you have any questions, feel free to ask about it in class. I hope this helps clear up some confusion and shed some light on how you can approach note cards and also how you can approach research for note cards and for other assignments as well. So until next time, I'll see you later. Bye.